All right, starting right off, Lou Feldstein, former head of New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. I first met Lou at a Leadership Greater Concord event, and I fell really, really hard. That seemed like 15 seconds. Okay, there we go. So I'm not the only one who thinks Lou is absolutely fabulous. From the White House to the State House, domestically and internationally, he has lots of people who think he's just the bee's knees, in part because he co-authored the wonderful social capital book, Better Together, with Harvard's Robert Putnam. Social capital, if you're saying, what is it? What does that mean exactly? In essence, it's the collective value of social networks. We all have them, we're all part of them, and the tendencies that emerge from those to help one another. I'm guessing many people in this room got their current job because of someone they know. The higher the social capital is, the higher the child welfare is, along with lots of other indicators. If you look here, the social capital index is on your x-axis. New Hampshire's way up there. We have very high child welfare and very high social capital. Even things like tax evasion, which doesn't sound very interesting, the higher the social capital, the lower the tax evasion. When social capital is high in a community, government's running better, crime is lower, you have economies that are growing faster. There are basically two types of social capital. The first is bonding. This is social capital that develops among people who have a lot of similarities, ethnically or interest-wise, geographically. It's fairly easy to build. I think you can all think of ways that you do that in your own lives. Bridging social capital is harder to do, arguably more important, and this is bridging differences. These are the sorts of things that are needed in your Belfast and in places like Bosnia, so bridging those differences. Have you been listening? A bunch of Girl Scouts, cute white little girls who have a thing for badges. Is it bridging or is it bonding? Bonding. There you go. Bonding social capital, which also is absolutely of value, and service learning is a fabulous way to develop social capital in communities. Here you have a Peace Corps volunteer, you have a U.S. ambassador in a foreign country. Bridging or bonding? Absolutely, and bridging is, in essence, one of the most important factors with the fact that we have ambassadors throughout the world. They're looking to bridge the interests of the U.S. in those countries. Rotary, you join and you have lunch every Tuesday until you die. Is it bonding or bridging? Bonding. It's bonding. It's bonding, but it can also be bridging because Rotarians have lots of service projects. They bridge in the community. Here you have a bunch of nurses who work at Children's Hospital in Boston. Bonding or bridging? Absolutely. You were studying, Josh. It is. You have lots of different ethnic groups. There's not a lot of bridging across genders. So Lou had some takeaways for social capital building. In essence, it's not easy. It's important. Bonding is easier. Bridging is harder. There's a lot of power of storytelling, and it's not a means to an end. It's a process to get you where you want to go. So it's great in theory. We can look at cool stats and charts, but what about social capital in action? This is something I realized a while ago that I wanted to do every day when I go to work. I want to do something that's creating social capital, but I didn't know exactly what that meant. So I figured out for me 4 ways. One being creating events that build social capital in a community. This is an air show we did out at Pease, about 200,000 people. And we bridged military to civilian. We bridged intergenerations, but you also bonded military and bonded the local community. The second concrete way is through communications, and this is through children and babies with the Leitcher League, right up through seniors, and using communication tools to access information and to access the community. Also through grant funding, which Lou was very supportive of at the Charitable Foundation. This is a grant initiative to increase safety at the Crutchfield and Kennedy facilities, which are Concord housing buildings. So we were bridging the police department, the fire department, and the residents who were seniors and people with mental illness. And finally, with development, this is an event that bonded members of the Concord Leitcher League, but it also raised a ton of money for the group, and it supported local businesses. And supporting your local businesses is another great way to build social capital. Tomorrow night, we're going to build social capital at the Barley House. These guys and others will be sitting on a chair of ice, and they're doing it to raise money for social capital. Come down. The more money you raise, the more clothing they take off, and it's all for a very, very good cause. And you can feel very bonded to your community, and their rear will be bonded to their ice chair. Thank you to Lou Feldstein. I think my favorite Lou quote is, "We need to look at front porches as crime-fighting tools, treat picnics as public health efforts, and see choral groups as occasions of democracy." Looking forward, you have people like Jack Johnson, who is a musician. He's an activist, a little bit of eye candy down there for the ladies. But he is building these fantastic events. At his Concords, he he does something called the Village Green, where he brings all sorts of local nonprofits to the concert, and people go through and they learn about their communities and enjoy music. So social capital is not rocket science. You don't have to be a musician. You don't need to be Lou. Just say hello. Thank you.